order. And the school committee may seek convene in an open session and recess to an executive session for a discussion and or action regarding these items of business exempt from opening meetings under Rhode Island General Law 4246-4 and discussion and action any SK recess duties operation appeal Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A2, discussion and action on the NEASK negotiations, Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A2, discussion and action on SKESP negotiations, Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A2, and a discussion and action on personal job performance, Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A1. Do we have a motion to convene?
I'll make a motion to convene an executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Bradley Scher,
Here.
Mr. James Restiva,
Here.
Ms. Carol Vetta,
Here.
Miss Melissa Boyd,
Here.
Miss Kate Mancinelli,
Here.
Miss Michelle Busso,
Here.
and myself, Paul Whippet, here. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is a motion to seal the minutes of executive session. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. There's no votes to disclose from the executive session. Next on the agenda is,
Madam Chair, if I might make a motion to move from school committee business, items C and D, and move them up to prior to community comments.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. We will then have,
I'll get it.
Madam Chair, I'd
Yes.
also like to propose at least moving item, I'm trying to look at our first policy, read item B. I'm not sure the best place to move that, but I'd like to move that earlier, perhaps before the superintendent's report as well.
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Do we have anybody in the house who is looking to make a comment for community comments tonight? Come on, that. I do apologize, Mr. Sigmund, but they did ask to move several items up before community comments, so my apologies.
Yeah.
Mr. Mahoney,
Yeah, if I may, Madam Chair, just to some preliminary remarks before Mr. Mahoney steps up. It was an issue that was brought to my attention really on my very first day in the district, was the condition of the playground at Peacedale Elementary School. And as a resident of the town and an occasional visitor to Facebook dialogue, I know that that had been an issue for quite some time. And one comment that put it into perspective for me was Principal Jonathan Rapport at Peacedale Elementary School, who pointed out that his wife played on that very same playground equipment as a child. As Mr. Mahoney will explain, I think we found a deal with the largest manufacturer of playground equipment in the nation that gives us, it's going to give us a huge discount. After we figured out how many slides would be on the playground, came the issue of how can we possibly pay for this? And we looked at our remaining ESSER 3 funds, and we made an amendment to our ESSER 3 budget to the Rhode Island Department of Education, and that plan was approved. They felt that this was a step in the right direction to address the health and well-being both physical and mental of our children. That Peacedale is our only Title I school, so that improving conditions there would make some of our economically disadvantaged students the beneficiaries of that. That Peacedale School is our houses our preschool program, and that currently our preschool children really had no playground equipment that was not condemned for them to play on. And so Mr. Mahoney then went to work, and I'll call on you, Mr. Mahoney, to fill us in with the details.
Sounds good. I'm just gonna pull the lectern back and just so I can go right up to the screen and kind of show you everything. Okay, so we're gonna have two updates for you tonight. The Peacedale Playground being the first, and then the West Kingston parking lot. Next slide, please. For the Peacedale Playground update, I'm gonna go over the removal of broken structure, the new structure's design, and the timeline for the new playground. Next slide. So you can see on the first page here, we were on November 6th and 7th. We removed the broken play structure. On the 6th. My team went in and removed all of the upper sections and all the pieces. And then the SK Parks Department, Brian and Rex Eberly over there were a huge help, and they came over with some of the town machinery to remove all the larger structures that are cemented down underneath, which saved us about $6,000 with their help. Again, I can't say enough how much of a help and between the highway department and the Parks and Rec department, and we all work together for projects like this to try to better the town and save the town some money. We did salvage off the quality pieces from that structure to be used at other schools down the road. Next slide, please. So this is the after the removal. We had to fill with mulch because underneath it, essentially there was voids from where the concrete was and when the cylinders went in. So again, with the help of the town and my team, we remulched the area and packed down to keep it safe for the time being, so the kids can still play out there and have an open space for the students currently. Next slide. So here's the new structure design. If you're looking at the Peacedale Playground, in the back will be the large structure. The next closest structure, I call it the Ninja Course, is monkey bars and climbing structures, an ADA compliant seesaw, and then a pre-K play structure, which we specifically designed for the pre-K, but it's not the typical very small pre-K. The older students, kindergarten, first grader can still enjoy it. It's rated for pre-K, but many of our younger students will be able to enjoy that smaller structure. Next slide, please. Here's another view. This is the large piece we went with for the playground. Next slide. Here is a closer view of the pre-K. There's one slide on the far side, double slide over here, and then some climbing elements for them. And then next to that will be the ADA compliant seesaw. And then over here is the Ninja climbing course, which typically doesn't fall under the grant program, but they were running a concurrent grant for structures like that. So we were able to add that on top, and which I think will be great. I have a 4-year-old who loves those things, but especially I say that because our bigger kids love the climbing structures. So I think that was a good element to add, separated from the other play structures also. Next slide, please. So here's the timeline. In October of this year, we came to an agreement with Game Time Commercial Playground Equipment to go forward with this. On November 7th, the broken playground structure was removed and we put the resurfacing down. The current timeline will be in January of 2024. The equipment will be delivered and it'll be kept on site away from the current playground structures in outdoor containers. So it'll be on site ready to go. And then in March, we will remove, similar how we did the other structure. We'll spend a day or two removing what's there now. And it'll take about 3 or 4 days to install all 4 new pieces that we have and do the recertification. So question time.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. I think this is fantastic work. But I did have a question on the timeline for installation, because I think March, there's no vacation during March that I'm aware of. So is there going to be a period of time where the kids won't have a structure there?
It'll depend, yeah, and we're trying to shoot as early as we can in the year with the colder weather, with them still being able to install it properly, to not take away as much time from the students on the play structures. So that's why we're shooting for March, and the company was very confident in giving us a March install date, just for having that factor that the kids won't be outside as much. If we go into April and May, we're gonna have a lot better weather. They're gonna be out there every day. So we have been looking at that and using maybe the other side of the building for some outdoor time. And kind of being creative for that week, roughly a week that it'll take between the removal and working on the weekends. Part of the designing this was start on a Friday afternoon with the removal, have my team work on the Saturday for the removal, and then start Monday to again maximize the time, and then have, we'll say by Thursday of the next week, have it ready to go. Friday, brand new open playground.
So can we have a big ribbon cutting ceremony?
Yeah, we definitely can.
I say thank you. It's incredible. And also, I would assume too, if we went too early in the year, it'd be in potentially frozen ground. We wouldn't be able to get the equipment in as far as it needs to be. So I don't have any questions. I'm just super excited. Cannot wait. Agree with the ribbon cutting. Like, it needs to be a grand opening.
Definitely. And that's kind of when we first had the discussion with Game Time. We were thinking around April when the weather, but they actually said March. They gave us a timeline in March. They said, if you guys are ready, the product will be on site. We'll come in March, and the ground with, them doing hundreds of these a year. They said, we'll be good to go on the installation end. So,
And we don't live in Siberia, so we can bundle up and come on out.
we don't have winters anymore.
True enough.
And I just want to say too, thank you to Principal Rappaport and to our new leadership. They were, obviously this has been about 2 years now on my end, and this great program kind of fell into our lap, but without the leadership, being able to help push this forward, make sure everything was in the right order, we would not have gotten this project done. It was pretty much about a less than 60-day turnaround from reaching out to this company, working with Bob and Alexis, and making this happen. So I want to make sure in this process they get a lot of the praise for this also. And John was helpful in picking everything out. We still have to pick the colors. So if anyone has any, any suggestions, feel free to email me. I'll take all input. From school committee, not everybody in Facebook.
So I just want to say thank you. I am excited over this new playground. And I'm looking forward to see just how excited our school children will be when that new playground is up and running. I agree. I think I heard we should have a grand opening around that playground, and I look forward to that. So thank you for your hard work in getting this project up and running finally. I think the community will appreciate it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I know that this took a lot of work on your part, and the fact that you looked out for this company and helped procure that grant to pay a big chunk of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions on that one? Any more? Then we can move on to,
Mr. Mahoney, did you mention both the final cost and the discount that we're getting?
I didn't put that into the slide deck. I didn't put the costs and everything. I can go over the general costs.
Okay.
Let me just pull it up real quick so I get the right proper numbers, and I will
Get the proper numbers, because it
Thank
costs
you.
over $4,000 to do this project. It's a really good deal, but what we have learned is that playground equipment is something that happens in a very litigious arena. And that all the installation and everything has to be done by a certified playground engineer. So it's costly, but we're getting all of the materials. Am I right, Mr. Mahoney? We're getting all the materials at half price. That
Yes, 100% match
Yes.
on all the materials.
100% match.
Yep.
So little Bill, thank you for asking Brian to bring forth the cost of this project. I think it would be very helpful for the community to know that as
What-
well. So thank you.
You want me to go, Mr. Mahoney? What our agreement was with Game Time?
If you'd like to start it and then I can jump in.
Okay, well, our contribution would be $256,000 for this. And we would be getting well over a $350,000 playground.
It's including the discounts that were being offered with the playground equipment, correct?
Yes, yep.
Yes.
I
Okay.
believe it was 129,000 off the top of my head
Mhm.
was essentially the free material of the playground that we're getting. So we do have to pay for installation, but part of the grant was if we buy $100,000 playground, $100 piece, they will match it and give us a $200,000 piece. So on the material price, it was 100% matching. And that's why with this opportunity, we did want to go larger. We wanted to give something that for the next 20 to 30 years that the community can use, especially being right down and right in our downtown. We're hoping that this gets used all the time and that people, I'm not gonna say bring their kids to the district, but on the weekends are using it after hours. We really want this to be a community play space.
After the district pays their portion of the $260,000, there'll be no other additional cost, correct?
There'll be minor costs, roll off dumpsters, but no major investments. It'll be time and labor on my end, with doing some of the work for the removal, and purchasing new mulch, which we have in our yearly budget anyway for the district at all the buildings. And then purchasing a few new flat pads, but nothing substantial that's not already budgeted for or above and beyond.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll reiterate that we made application to RIDE to spend our ESSER 3 funds, and they completely supported our application, knowing that knowing what a benefit this is to the children of Peacedale School. Yep. Yes.
So, do we have a motion on the table to approve the project that's being presented before us tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve Peacedale Elementary School playgrounds as presented.
Second,
Question, just clarifying procedurally, the presentation linked to that agenda item is both Peacedale Elementary School playground and the West Kingston Elementary School parking lot. They're combined in the presentation. Can we vote on? We can vote on them separately, or can we
Yes.
vote on? Okay. 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 So I'll maintain my motion to approve the Peacedale Elementary School playground as presented.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. And so now you're gonna go on to the West Kingston parking lot?
Yes, that would be next. Small update, but I do have, we can go to the next slide. I just included one picture here. And just a couple quick notes on the West Kingston parking lot. The West Kingston parking lot is on our 24-25 capital plan, and we currently have it at $400,000 on the plan. That has been rolling forward for a few years now. It was in our initial plan before, Studio Jade was involved with helping us design a new master plan. Foreseeing the potholes, the edge chipping, the waves in the rear lot. The project definitely needs to get done. Currently working on the scope of what will be part of this project to redo the parking lot, and we want to get that out before winter break to go out to a bid. And this work would commence in the summer of 2024 as a capital project.
This is a basketball court basketball hoop that I see alongside this existing parking lot. So is that going to be part of the plan going forward, that there will be a little hoop section, like a basketball court, so to speak?
That'll be part of the design element. I mean, typically, my first thought on this is to redo the parking lot as is, because it functionally is working very well at West Kingston
Mhm.
with arrival and dismissal. But as that conversation comes up, I'll definitely be back to the table and work with our leadership and the leadership up at West Kingston to go over items like that. Because that is one of the issues in the back right now, that it's very wavy, and then you can't really tell from the picture, but probably on the packet, all around the fire hydrant area there, which will get changed in the parking lot design, because we should not have a fire hydrant sitting in the middle of a parking lot when parents aren't paying attention and turning their cars in the back lot. But there is a lot of damage around that area that the town has helped us by filling in over the years, but that's one of the problem areas we have in that parking lot.
I don't have any questions. I was just going to make a motion to approve the West Kingston Elementary School parking lot project.
Wait a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Receiver, did you have a question or a comment that you wanted to make? Okay, I thought we were moving too fast and cutting you off.
I had a question earlier, but I think it's for, I don't think it's on the agenda, so I'm not gonna bring it forward at this time.
Hey,
Thank you.
that motion passes. Thank you, Brian, for your work.
You going in? Okay.
Project Drew.
Yeah.
So, no, but wait a minute.
No, she moved it.
No,
The-
wait.
She moved it.
The last motion that was
Yeah.
made to.
Yeah, she moved it so that
Superintendent.
policy is gonna occur between the consent agenda and the superintendent.
So community comments goes first.
Community comments and then superintendent's
She
report.
moved it between them. Okay,
Yeah, so it's gonna
so
be
we're moving
after
on
con-
to community. comment.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Do you have the protocol?
It's only two and a half.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I think it's mine.
And it could be your, it could be three people.
Okay, at this time, we are going to, open the floor up for, community comments. Ms. Busso has the list. If you signed on to it, you can take the podium and, have 3 minutes, please.
Mr. Sigmund?
Welcome back to the podium, Mrs. Dickman. Yeah, so.
Hello, now are we on? Oscar Ikwasan, everybody. Hello, my name is Jonathan Sigmund. I live in Kingston, Rhode Island, and I'm a school social worker in the town of South Kingstown. I said Oscar Ikwasan. This means hello in the Narragansett language. This is something that we have been doing at the announcements across the district in all of the schools, is using some Narragansett language during Native American Heritage Month, and also learning about gratitude from the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address, and also doing some land acknowledgements. And if you want me to take a little extra time at the end, I will share with you the land acknowledgement, and I will suggest that you all start doing that yourselves right here at this lovely meeting. But I'll not talk about that right this minute. So I want to talk about the equity audit. I saw that it was on the agenda, and I'm so happy that it's gone forward. I so appreciate all the school committee members and all the administrators being in support of this effort. And I specifically want to thank Mr. Crowley and Mr. Littlefield, and I want to also acknowledge how they have involved the community and tried to get input on how the RFP would look. I want to say that I think the RFP looks really good in terms of including the idea of surveying all kinds of stakeholders and using focus groups. It talks about evaluating relevant professional development offerings for staff or the lack thereof. It talks about evaluating district-wide academic, social, and administrative policies and programming. It talks about analyzing district data, about performance, about graduation, all kinds of things. Really, it's an amazing, the RFP looks great. I think it went out already, I'm seeing, and I don't know if there's still opportunities for revising the RFP, but I want to make 4 suggestions, and that's what I just handed you. The first one is in the area of curriculum and instruction. You can see what the current language is. It's, in my opinion, kind of vague suggestions for the alignment of curriculum with our mission to prepare students, etc. So you can see what the language that I'm looking for is. We're talking about reviewing curriculum and instructional practices and materials, including classroom and building visual displays, to determine if they reflect cultural and racial diversity and include a range of perspectives, identities, and experiences. You can see the language there. I took it directly from SKSD policy 1261. So this is existing policy. We're already committed to these very particular goals around curriculum and instruction. So I'm just suggesting that we use the exact same language in our RFP so that we get the information that we're really looking for. Does that make sense? I would love it if you asked me questions, if you had a question. I know. In Westerly, people are allowed to, and the school committee does that. All right. Well, you can slip me a note later or something, but I'm just saying I'm open to your feedback. The second area is personnel, and you can see the language that's currently in the RFP. It talks about analyze staff hiring and retention and professional development, particularly as it pertains to the student population. Again, it's just kind of vague. So I would be looking for language like evaluate SK's success towards the goal of recruiting, hiring, and retaining teachers, staff, administrators, and coaches who identify as BIPOC in addition to other underrepresented populations. This language, again, is directly from SK policy 1261. We're already committed to this. Why not use the exact same language to determine if we're actually achieving the goal, if we're nowhere near it? The second suggestion that I'm making is, not from SK policy 1261, but it talks about assessing the level of comfort and belonging experienced by currently employed staff of color and of other underrepresented populations, assessing those staff members' sense of how protected they feel should they experience discrimination or poor treatment. I'm asking for this language because in my experience, there have been teachers of color who have not felt comfortable, who have not felt protected, who have felt like there was not a good process for when they had poor treatment. I'm just asking for very specific language. 2 more on the disaggregation piece. It's in the RFP, there are 2 separate places. One piece talks about disaggregating by nationality, specifically Native American. That doesn't really make sense to me. Nationality doesn't even though there are people who refer to themselves like the Narragansett Nation, nationality often does not refer to that, to Native American. So that piece kind of doesn't make sense. And in addition, in the overview, the line doesn't match with in the deliverables, the line. So I'm just asking for the language to match, and I'm suggesting a sentence for you right there. It's very easy. It could just say the district seeks proposals for a vendor to analyze student data disaggregated by race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, English language learners, disability, and gender. And you'll see there's a little extra credit if you change to MLLs, because that's more appropriate language to refer to people who already know another language and are learning an additional language of English. And the last one is about the policy review, just a quick little language change. You can see what I wrote there. So this is my most boring time up at this podium ever. How much time do I have left? Any 0 seconds? What? Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying, do you want to learn how to say hello in the Narragansett language as all of your students have been learning? Okay. So if you're willing to repeat after me, I don't know, you could say, maybe you could repeat after me, I think. I'll just break it down because it's 5 syllables. Sko, we, qua, sin. Right, it's a lot. Sko, we, qua, sin. Asko we kwasin. I know it's hard. Asko we kwasin. This means hello. Today we started learning katabatash, which means thank you. So I'll just say katabatash.
Thank you, Mr. Sigmund.
Thank you.
Mr. Beasley?
Look here. I first want to talk about a memo that was produced by your district by Mr. Ferrucci and sent out by your superintendent to Paula and I think Mr. Manny, town council. Has to do with the 2022, 23, and 23 to 24 district budgets in regards to the number of people that and the reduction of staffing. So we went from 426 last year to, I think we were on 390 now, and then you've added like 10 positions with American Rescue Plan funds. Okay. So in this memo, it's everything that I have. So I had issues with what's being presented on page 3 of this memo. So
I don't know the memo that Mr. Beasley is referring to. I've not seen it.
I actually sent everyone. You got it in your machines there. If you bring up my
But it is not on our agenda. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
all right. So anyway, let me just get to the bottom line on this memo. It talks about the 2 parts. There's 3 things that are wrong with it. The first thing that's wrong with it is that it takes the salary expenditure line. It has the salary expenditure line from 22-23, and then it subtracts the positions, the amount of positions from the 23-24 budget. So that doesn't make any sense. So that the initial number there, which is like 30 million, blah, 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 is not right. It should be the salary expenditure line from 2024, which is 29,500,000 and something. That's the first problem. But the thing that's really not correct in the way this is written, and I double checked it with your former CFO, is that when this district creates its budget and its budgeting positions, the software automatically adds a specific amount of percentage for a salary increase and for benefits. Now, the memo states that you take this number and you subtract these positions, but you have to now go back and you have to add in the amount of money that is going to needs to be added for your 2% salary increase. That's not correct, okay? That salary increase is already in there, so you don't have to make that calculation. And the same thing has to do with benefits. So the bottom line is this. When you take the right salary number of 29 million, whatever, and you take and you subtract the $2 million in savings from the reduced positions, you have a number of about 27,500,000. Now, the benefit savings is about 500,000. And you also had operational savings from when you closed the schools, not the positions you lost, you got away. I'm just talking about, the heat and all that stuff, okay? And that was about 200,000. So when you add the 2 million for the reduced positions, the savings from the benefits of 500,000 and 200,000 from operational savings, you come up with $2.7 million savings to date. Now, your 2022-23 budget still hasn't been, the audit's still not completed. But the last time I saw a number on it, you had a surplus of about $1 million. So it's 900,000. So we'll add that to the $2.7 million. So the bottom line is this. The way I look at your budget right now for this year, you have a $3.6 million, including the surplus from last year. You have $3.6 million surplus. Now, you took about 300,000 and you put it into the unrestricted fund balance. So you increase that by about 300,000. But the bottom line is you have a lot of extra money. Now, this is going to come up soon. Is going to come up next month when you start developing your budget with the town council, because you want to build this school. But right now, building the school is all on top of the taxpayers' backs, and that has to change. So I'll talk about that next time. Now, that was number one. Number two, I've noticed again that chronic teacher absenteeism was not on your agenda. So I guess I've said it enough here. So I'm looking at the seven of you, and I'm saying I'm asking myself this question: how is it possible that the seven of you, there's not three of you, that's not three of you individuals, three of you, or what it takes to get something on the agenda. There's not three of you that thinks having a 22% teacher chronic absenteeism issue rate in this town, which is the fourth highest in the state last year, is a problem. Okay, now you just hired like 11 people. You just hired 11 people with American Rescue Plan funds to help your students gain back some of their losses due to the pandemic. But I got to ask you, what about your teachers who are not showing up to work chronically? Do you not think that is part of what's going on here. To not address this issue, to me, is just, I don't understand why you're not addressing this issue. It's not going to go away. It didn't start just in the last year or two. It was before the pandemic. In the 2018-19 year, we had chronic teacher absenteeism in this district. It's costing us a lot of money. And it's hurting our students. And I'm waiting for you to do something about it. Okay. I did a quick look to see at your American Rescue Plan funds, and this is what I've come up with as of today. The way I looked when I calculated it, you'd used $2.1 million worth. Now you've added those 11 positions, so you're up to $3.4 million that you've allocated to the district, which leaves you with $1.4 million left over. Okay, of that 1.4 million, you've already squandered about 300,000 of it because it wasn't used and those funds are no longer available. So you're talking about a $1.2 million left. So I'm hoping you're starting to figure out what you're going to do with it. Now, I don't know what you're going to do with it because I think there are certain guardrails or certain things you can do with the funds as you go through. As every year when they added the next bunch of funds, you had the ARP funds, and then you had the ESSER 1, the ESSER 2, and the ESSER 3. They all come with certain guidelines of what you can actually use it for. So you better be careful on that one. And lastly, tonight, I just took a glance at the intramural list for the district. And I've got to ask this question. So your budget this year is about 69 million. And you went from 15 offerings for CCMS in Broad Rock last year, 15 offerings to 2. So we went from yoga, ski trip, fitness, flag football, frisbee, golf, board games, badminton, tennis, bowling, girls basketball, boys basketball, Nerf hockey, volleyball, fitness, and walking club to yoga and board games for Broad Rock. $69 million. We can't get more intramurals in this town.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Ms. Manning?
I'm the MLS specialist. I'm also co-chair with Jonathan of the NEARSJ. Really here speaking more as a parent today. A parent of children that are African American. And so Jonathan, I think, did a really nice job of helping. Well, first I want to say thank you that the equity, so let me step back. I appreciate that the equity audit is making its way, and hopefully we will have an audit. And so I'm really happy about that. So I just want to thank you for that. And so diving in, I think the language that Jonathan is hoping that you will add to this is really helpful. And I just want to, there's one little piece about the curriculum that I'm really interested in you guys thinking about, or maybe blowing out a little further, because as someone who didn't see herself reflected in the curriculum and who had two children that went through South Kingstown schools and also didn't see themselves reflected in the curriculum, or when they were in the curriculum, it was harmful. And so what I gave you there is something I sent a couple months ago, I think in September. And it's from a source that we use. We use their bilingual dictionaries all the time in the district for access testing. Our students are allowed to use them. And what this does is talk a little bit about the curriculum that we have in our schools currently. And I understand that the curriculum was green by RIDE. And this research has come out since then. And I think it's really important to look at what it's saying about the curriculum that we're using in schools. And we're also seeing so I'm not asking us to get rid of the curriculum, though I think that would be helpful. But I think what I would like is to be more inclusive. And so I'm just going to read something that Rudine Sims Bishop wrote in discussing about mirrors, windows, sliding glass doors and windows. So children from dominant social groups have always found their mirrors in books, but they too have suffered from the lack of availability of books about others. They need books that will help them understand the multicultural nature of the world they live in and their place as a member of just one group, as well as their connection to all other humans. If they see only reflections of themselves, they will grow up with an exaggerated sense of their own importance and value in the world, a dangerous ethnocentrism. And so I'm hoping that for the equity audit that we could take Jonathan's idea of the reviewing the curriculum and have someone look at it from that lens. And so what you say in there is very generalized and non-specific, but I think it's really important for us to actually dive deeper into the curriculum and see if the curriculum is actually meeting the needs of our children, all of our children, not just some of our children. So. And again, like, if you have any questions, you have my email, you can email me about it. I'd love to talk more about this and how I can be more supportive in the school system. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Manning.
Close community comments at this time and move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a motion to move the trying to find my paper. We are moving the discussion and action on policy 8440. And that is with Dr. Gare.
Evening. Okay, could you go to the next slide? Thank you. So one of the things that I'm presenting tonight is a revision of policy 8440. So just to bring everyone up to speed, what happened was that there are new secondary regulations that indicate what it takes to graduate from high school. This is going to kick in with the current 8th grade students. So when they come up as 9th graders, these will be their graduation requirements. They're very similar to the current requirements, but there are some differences, and we wanted to make sure that our policy matched that, because I think that's important for clarification. Obviously, the regulations would trump policy, but it's helpful to have them both in alignment. So this is our effort to do that. So we met as a team. It was a number of people across the building who volunteered to be part of this. We spent a lot of time going through it and making sure that this policy matched and that it was logical. We also left ourselves some room so that everything that needed to be in the policy was there, but that also had the ability to update our handbook and so forth as necessary. So like, in other words, if a new credit requirement was added in, it doesn't necessarily mean then that we need to come back to update a policy. So this policy will say like essentially the credits that are required by the state are in there. So like, which would then transfer that over, because what has happened in the last few years is that laws have been passed independent of regulations. And I'll get into that in a second, that will kind of change the graduation requirements. And a great example of that is the financial literacy certification, not certification, I'm sorry. I lost my spot on there. Proficiency. Thank you very much. It's been a long day. So the proficiency there. So you don't have to take a course to demonstrate that. But what's interesting is that our current senior class has to do that specific one. So all the other things, it's the 8th graders on down, but there's a law that came into play that said that beginning with the class of 2024, that they had to do that. So by having that flexibility, we don't have to change our policy every time something like that might come along. I think it's a good idea for our graduates to have that proficiency, and they will. We're working through that. It was actually our health teachers that came to everyone's rescue, and they said they can include a unit in health 4, which is senior health, and every student will have this unit that they'll need to show that they pass. And by doing so, they meet the requirement for proficiency in that. So that was really nice, and it got embedded into a class without having to add another requirement. They had already talked a lot about financial awareness, so this was just kind of sewed that up. So just so you're aware, there's that aspect of things. So the only thing we removed was language regarding a graduation portfolio. So when this policy was last revised, we were phasing out graduation portfolio and moving to senior projects. So we took that language out because it's not relevant anymore. We're going all the way back to the class of 2020 in that case. So it was just unnecessary language. As I mentioned, we added that demonstration of financial proficiency in financial literacy, but also civics and computer science are going to be new too. So civics is already embedded into one of our classes, our senior project class, that is done through social studies in senior year. And computer science, we have a lot of different offerings. We're working with the middle school right now to have a class that students will take there, and then they'll already come up with that proficiency prior to even getting to high school. And that's okay. And we're just waiting on RIDE to finalize their guidance for that. They've given us guidance in civics, they've given us guidance in financial literacy, but they have not yet given us guidance on how we do that. So we think we have a course that will meet that. And if so, beginning with the class, with the current 7th graders, not the current 8th graders, they would all take that class next year. And then going forward, we would phase that in so that every class comes up with that already. We do have a number of classes here that we think would meet that. So we'll work with the current 8th graders to make sure that they meet this proficiency before graduation as well. We added more explicit language around curriculum and instruction, such as career technical education. They were referred more to pathways the last time this was done. So we got very explicit about CTE, career technical education. Work-based learning, which is something that that all of our CTE graduates must complete. It's basically real world experiences is what that is. They have to have a certain number of those, and then flex credits. And so without even really knowing it, we had already created a class that was a flex credit. So we have this class called Tides Over Time, and it's a co-taught class with a social studies teacher and a science teacher. And so students can have 1 full credit in social studies, 1 full credit in science, or half a credit of each, depending on what they need to get to graduate to meet their graduation requirements. It's the same class, but it's aligned to standards in both. So where that's considered like a flex credit. And so there's way more opportunities. And that's not the only example, but there are other opportunities for us to build flex credits into our schedule. And so we're learning more. As guidance comes out related to that, we're going to have opportunities to do that. And we want to make sure language was in our policy, specifically around flex credits. We added language around interventions and individualized learning plans. We are doing both these things, but we wanted to make sure that there was language in our policy about those things. And we added more explicit language regarding coursework. That is, as I mentioned, flex credits, CTE, concurrent enrollment, world language assessments. So the world language assessments is one that, and they have not released guidance on this yet, but students who speak another language would be able to take an assessment, an agreed upon assessment, hit a certain benchmark, and they can get 1, 2, or 3 credits in world language based on that score. So if they're a native speaker in another language and writer, because they would need to be able to write in that language too, they could earn credits towards graduation through an assessment. So real life experience in that case. And then finally, we added language about graduation seals. In the prior one, commissioner's seal was the only thing that was a thing back then, but now biliteracy and CTE are seals as well. We have students earning those 3 already in the last couple of classes. So that's the general overview of the policy changes. And yes, and they are consistent with the new regulations. We have certainly spent enough time making sure of that, but that's a good point. Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you to Dr. McGarrett for being here tonight to review that. This is a first read. Those at the table who serve on policy and in the community who are here tonight, we saw these changes as being important enough to bring right to this committee because as you were hearing, much of it is required that we need to do. So I just want to clarify a process for if you have feedback between now and the next time and any questions that come tonight, I'd ask that you share them with Dr. McGarrett so that he can then share them with me and we can bring forward a clean version of this should anything need to be changed and do so in a timely manner because I know that it is something that we'd like to get a second read as soon as we can possibly do that. But thank you for your collective efforts from your team and for folks on policy who have already looked at this. I know we started in spring, so it's been a little bit of a time to get this to the table, but thank you for doing that tonight.
Dr. McGarrett, I know there's been discussion here tonight with regard to this policy and in other conversations that we've had about the new requirements from RIDE. And I know you mentioned, I believe, a computer science that students will be able to, or it's one of the requirements that they would be able to meet that benchmark in middle school. And part of the other discussion that we've had at this table had to do with like the first year of a world language or algebra 1, meeting that benchmark in middle school. Has RIDE put that in writing?
Yes. So and it'll get that will lead into the next thing that I'm going to present about, which is our program of studies.
Okay.
But essentially for world language, they can come up with one of the 2 required credits in world language from middle school. So they have to take at least 1 at the high school, but they can come up with 1 already. The only exceptions to the rule would be the testing that we had talked about, that I briefly talked about, like testing out, because they have such good skills that they can meet a benchmark score.
Okay, because in the past, RIDE has talked a good game of accepting as part of the graduation requirements, accepting work done in middle school and then turned it down when push came to shove.
Yeah, so putting the testing part out because it would be 1 from middle school, 1 from high. Yep. Not the case for math, though. I'll get into that.
Can I just ask, you said most of this is driven by changes for RIDE. Is there anything that we're changing that's just internally driven by our preference, or or is it all this just about compliance with
So-
changes or legislative or
So
policy change?
everything is in alignment with that. The only thing that's different for us versus what RIDE is, RIDE requires 20 credits. We require 24. And I'll get into that in the when I get into the program of studies, but we require 24, so we did not adjust that. Yep. And realistically, students have upwards right now of 32 opportunities because they take eight classes. So there are plenty of opportunities to meet those 24. And then when we factor in things like credit recovery, there's plenty of opportunities to get to that 24.
I don't have a question on this. And I know it's just a first read, so I don't think we're voting on it. But what I do have a question is if he's going to go into the program of studies, I don't think we moved that one up yet. If once this topic is done, I want to make a motion to move that up. Seeing as this topic is done, I'd like to make a motion to move 6A discussion action 24-25 SKHS program of studies from school committee business to right now.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Have at it.
Okay, so we have not done this in a few years, so it's really an opportunity to kind of show off our program of studies. So if there are things, I'm going to highlight the major changes from last year to this year, but if there are things you have questions about even in the program of studies, feel free to ask, because this has been a practice that we need to get back to, which is showing off our program of studies and getting school committee sign off. So I'll just run over the differences from last year to this year. And again, if you have other questions, please feel free to ask. So courses that run in 24-25, I can't believe we're already talking about that, are based on student interest and graduation requirements. Okay, so that's how we build that. Adjusted graduation requirements for the class of 2028 and beyond. Again, that's the 8th graders on 2 credits in world language. So that's new, one of which can be taken at the middle school, but they must be in the same language. So it can't be like, I'm going to take Italian 1 and French 1. It needs to be Italian 1, Italian 2. For in math at the high school. So I can still take algebra 1 in 8th grade, but now I still have to take 4 math classes at the high school. So just be aware of. Now, the pleasant thing about that for the students that love math is that gives us opportunities to get to very accelerated math at the high school level and have classes that are being run here. So our goal always is, if we can get to AP Calculus BC at the high school level, enough kids to take it. So that will be there. This is not a requirement for everyone. But and I'll get into one of the things that we're doing to make things better for students as well that don't want to be on that accelerated track. So 0.5 in the arts. So this is like your fine arts or your visual arts. Okay. And then plus the proficiencies that I mentioned before, civics, computer science, and financial literacy. CTE programming, I just wanted to list, we have 5 programs right now. We have 23 AP courses that we offer. Now, not all 23 might run in any given year. We try to run as many as we can. Everything's based on student interest. If students want to take it and we have enough to run the course, we run the course. But we offer 23 of them.
On that topic, how many students are required to run a course?
So last year we had a hard 15. Okay, but that's something we have to discuss this year about whether it's going to be the same hard 15, or is it going to be that's the general rule and we want to be in that vicinity. In other words, if we have 14, but it's a class that we really feel needs to run, do we run it? So like those are the discussions that we need clarification on that at a district level, like what we want to do. And I'm sure Bob, Alexis, and Angie and I can talk about that and then figure out what we want to do. But last year it was a directive like 15 or it doesn't run.
So,
Yep.
of the 23 AP courses, how many are you running this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the exact number, but it's got to be somewhere in that 20 or 21 spot. Yeah, it's most of them. It might be 19, but it's a lot of them. Yep. URI Rhode Island College courses. Now we're pretty good about running these every year. And right now we have 17 on the books of those. Now, some of them are only semester long courses, so it allows you to run, like, a student might be able to take 2 of them in one period. Because some of those run as semester courses, like URI writing, for example. And so that's exciting as well. New courses for next year include firefighting, so intro to firefighting. So we're working with UFD on that one. And this is going to be very little cost to the district. UFD feels so passionately about this that they are budgeting for a teacher to co-teach with one of our teachers for it. And they're supplying the books, and it's going to be really exciting. So we're hoping to get this one off the ground. And this is a class that will get kids certified to be on that path. So that's really cool. They approached us about it, and so we jumped at that opportunity. Math, let's see, URI engineering graphics. So 2 years ago, a year plus ago, we worked with URI on adding pre-calculus from URI as well as physics from URI. And if students take both those classes and pass them, then they are eligible for a URI engineering graphics. So this would be an engineering course that would be our first engineering course from URI. So, but the only caveat is they have to take those 2 classes first. So we have some students that are interested. We'll see if we can get that one running as well, but that's a neat opportunity. And we just confirmed with URI that they're on board with us offering that next year at our school. Honors Algebra 1. So this is the one that I mentioned about the math. So students take algebra at Broad Rock, and they did fine, but they're not ready to, they don't want to take honors geometry right off the bat, or geometry as a freshman. This is an opportunity for them to come in and get stronger in algebra, but at an honors level. So that's another option. We are also offering honors French 1, honors Italian 1, and honors Spanish 1 for the first time. So we have not had those as honors classes before. So all 4 of those classes, the honors Algebra 1 and the honors Italian, Spanish, and French, we're looking to see if we have student interest in those. So everything that we do is going to be based on, do we have students that want to take it? And if so, then we'll move forward with that. Math modeling. We've had some senior electives in math right now that are not super well received, like college algebra, probably because you can hear with the name, it's immediately a little bit of a turnoff to kids. It's like, all right, I've already been through algebra 1 and algebra 2. I'm not excited about this. The class itself is a good class, but so we're looking at doing some things like math modeling, where it's you might spend some time learning about sports statistics and so forth. So it's trying to show how math applies to the real world is really kind of what the purpose of that course is. So that could be a 4th math class that some kids might want to take. So we're trying it out this year, see if it works. We're going to workshop some other things with kids and see what types of math courses they want to take that are aligned to math standards. And we are also currently collaborating with URI on an education course. So if we can make it work for next year, we will. If not, we're going to keep working with them to try and get one in for the following year. So I can't put that in. It's not in the program of studies, that last one, because we're not at a place yet where we're ready to say, this is the class that we're going to teach and who would teach it. So. Yep.
Are you dropping any courses? You're adding all of these. So are there some that are going away?
So that's something that we've discussed. We didn't pull a lot away this year, other than like what I mentioned for the math. What I think we need to do is we need to adopt something along the lines of, if a class doesn't run in multiple years, we pull it out. And we just haven't done that. And this has been a long process of getting to a place where we moved from these are the courses we're running, which was a little bit rigid, like four plus years ago. And we're now at a place where I can comfortably say what we offer in any given year is what students want to take. And it's so student interest equals class runs. So with some exceptions, meaning that we can't just let kids take whatever they want, because then they won't graduate. But we still have to force them into certain things. But overall, it's what do you want to take? And then we're going to run the class. So we've got that side going, and I think after this year, we're going to have to get into a place where it's like, if it doesn't run in this amount of time, then we're pulling it out of the program of studies. Doesn't mean it can't reappear down the road, but it's out, and then that'll clean things up a little bit more.
Just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
So when you have your honors classes, are honors classes out of a 5-point for possibility for your GPA? Is that the difference between a regular course and an honors course?
Well,
I know that
there is a weighted
curriculum
GPA to it, yes. So it is higher if you get we don't have a traditional 4.0 GPA system anyway. It's a weighted one with fives coming into play. So it does have to be converted for things like NCAA clearinghouse and whatnot, but it does get weighted for honors.
okay. And then the half point of art, does music count as? So 'cause you had said fine arts and.
Yep, and
theater, but-
visual arts too, like so something like carpentry.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. They were very explicit in the regs of saying the arts as opposed to fine arts or visual arts.
All right. The 4 math, okay. So the 3 math and 1 math related has gone away, thank God. I'm sorry, my bias showing.
Yes, it'll be phased out. So all the students in the building right now are still in the 3+1, but the 8th graders on down will be 4. Yep. And we really, just about every student graduates having completed Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. So it's really, when you're looking at it, what is the 4th one going to be in math?
And I love teaching mathematical modeling.
Yeah. It's, I think that'll be, we're hoping that that's the course that takes off. Maybe it's the answer to what am I going to do with this? Yeah. Yeah.
So my question with the math, so I'm not as excited as Michelle is about that requirement because I am not a math. My husband has been trying to teach me to play cribbage for 4 years. I count the face on the cards. I'm like 8 + 1, 2, 3, and he makes fun of me and we laugh and it's a grand old time. But math, my brain is not a math brain. So my question is, not that I don't think it should be required, but my question is, are there other courses that fit that bill? So say I'm not a math student and now you're forcing me to take more math classes and I'm very bad at math. Is there something in say this carpentry program or like those flex classes that count, or do they have to be your standard everyday math?
They have to be math, but not standard every day. So I think that's the caveat, and so those are the immediate conversations as part of the policy rewriting that we've been talking about. Is let's get creative with our math classes. So we already have that thematic Algebra 2 class, which is Algebra 2 aligned course, but it's taught in a way that's that it hits themes. So like the focus for this quarter is going to be on this, and so we need to get more creative with how we draw kids into math, while still keeping it aligned to standard.
To clarifying that, and I also beyond excited, even though I may not sound it right now because it's been a long day, but the collaboration with URI is incredible. It's been a slow process over the past 4, 5, 6 years to pull that together. And we've had a little tip our toe in and then it gets pulled out and tip our toe in. And the fact that the number of, and it's been building over the past 3, 4 years. My son is a freshman at URI right now, and the benefits that he has from being able to take the URI classes here the past few years is incredible. So, and then to see it continue to expand is awesome. So it's incredible to see that progress. And the CTE program, and I want to just highlight it because like you said, we need to shout it from the rooftops, because one too many times do I hear people, why don't you collaborate with URI? It's we do. Why don't you have carpentry? We do. Why don't you teach civics? We do. Why don't you teach financial literacy? We do. So we need to really make sure that people who are listening to us for other reasons also hear what we are doing and that we are actually doing them exceptionally well.
Yeah, and those, a lot of those URI RIC courses are gen eds, and that's intentional. And whether, if we offer, they have an agreement between URI and RIC, so that if we offer a particular gen ed from Rhode Island College, we can't offer the same one from URI. So in some cases, you're taking one or the other, but that's not a problem. It's good for students to have exposure to multiple schools.
Further questions?
I'm really impressed with this program size, and I really appreciate you bringing it to us and showing it to us. I think this is a valuable recurring thing that we'd like to see, and to showcase the community, showcase us, everything that is being offered to our students. I think it's really a very comprehensive list of options that they have. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Question, because I know you've had a long day. I'm just wondering, with these changes, I know there are opportunities for eighth graders to learn about the curriculum. Do you have any dates or highlights that you can share for the community in case they have upcoming eighth graders making the decision to be a part of SK High School?
Yeah, so we had that very successful showcase night. It was a nighttime event. What we've found is that, the next phase is getting down into the middle school and speaking with students and getting them excited. We are, with this being, assuming this is approved tonight, our next step is to start the process of scheduling students. So beginning this week, families will start to have the opportunity to select what types of classes they would like to take for next year. And our goal is to have a general idea of what classes might run prior to going away for the December break. It seems quick, but what this does is it allows us to really project what we need staffing wise, because student need of, like, these are the courses we're running, and then this is the staffing we need to match that. And then by the timeline getting us to wrapping up the master schedule in mid-May, that gives us a month where we can meet with where school counselors can meet with families, make tweaks to the schedule if they want to, so that the beginning of the year is not insane. That was one of the things that when I first took this job, I could not believe the chaos, and I felt so bad for our school counselors of how nuts the first week of school was. So this past year, it's always going to be a little bit crazy, but it was so much better with they met with people over the summer, they met with people in May and June, and they tweaked a lot of it. So and students had a better idea at that point what they really wanted. So it was that's the reason for the accelerated timeline.
I'd like to make a motion to, say it right, to approve 2024-2025 SKHS Program of Studies as presented tonight.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Gare.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. I'll pass that over to Mr. Littlefield.
Okay, I'm not the least bit offended that I got bumped to the end of the program. You have two enrollment reports included in your packet. One is that all important October 1 enrollment report that we have submitted to the Rhode Island Department of Education. That's an important document because that carries us through the entire year. Now, no matter how many fluctuations we have, that's the number that determines our eligibility for state aid, for instance. And then the other document is just the most recent sketch of our enrollment that shows you more specifically all of our schools, all of our grades, and it also includes that important data regarding students who are being educated outside of our district, either because of a special need or because of choice. We had a great Professional Development Day on November 7th. There was no election on that day, but all of our teachers were and teacher assistants were here. If you'll recall, we dedicated, that was a right to read day. And so all staff were engaged in professional development focused on literacy. I want to recognize Mrs. Meyer for her role in helping all of our schools plan meaningful professional development on that day. As was alluded to earlier, we have two requests for proposals that have been distributed and have been posted on BidNet. One is our request for proposals to do an equity audit for the South Kingstown School Department. I know that that's been a goal of this committee for a while, and that's been sent out with a deadline of November 28th for submission. And then we'll begin the work of identifying the group or the entity that will conduct the audit. The other is to look for proposals to conduct an executive search to find a permanent superintendent for the district. That closes on November 23rd, and then it'll begin the work of deciding which of the proposals fits us best. You received the personal action plan of a couple of leaves, et cetera. One significant hire is Mr. Ryan Kilpatrick, who is going to begin work as our Chief Financial Officer the Monday after Thanksgiving. He couldn't be here tonight. I wanted to introduce him to you, but he's wrapping up his business in his job as Finance Director for the town of Portsmouth. But he comes highly regarded. I do want to point this out. He comes highly regarded to us from both the town manager in Portsmouth and the Chief Financial Officer of the school department. Both of them raved about Mr. Kilpatrick. It doesn't hurt that he is a magna cum laude graduate majoring in accounting from the University of Rhode Island, and he's a South County native, and he's really anxious to get started here. I do want to recognize our interim CFOs, Mr. Ferrucci and Mr. Crowley, for their help in doing the search, and they both gave their absolute approval of Mr. Kilpatrick. And I will also point out that his contract with us is within the parameters that were established for the fiscal year 24 budget. You have in your packet the capital improvement plan that we will be submitting to the town so that we can make our December 1 deadline. It includes all kinds of identified projects, both in facilities and technology. If you have any questions about any of that, Mr. Snow is here. Mr. Mahoney bolted out the door. He's at the town hall. I know he is. Yes. Yeah. If you have any questions, I would also. And for the record, I want to congratulate the South Kingstown High School girls varsity tennis team. They were the Division II state champions this year. First time in over 20 years that they have won a championship. So congratulations to them, to Coach Ron Madison, and special congratulations to Alexa Clark, who not only led her team to the team championship, she's also the #1 singles player in all of Rhode Island, as shown in the tournament.
Can I just interrupt on that topic? And I think that's incredible and awesome, and I'm glad you did a shout out for that. Last year, our boys soccer team were Division I champions, and we celebrated them for months on end. Not that they were not deserving of that. However, I might request going forward, maybe when we have something as significant as what you just announced, maybe we can invite that team and give them a little praise. And I know it was not you who did that with the boys soccer team. I'm just saying in general, maybe it should be common practice for us. Because like literally we celebrated that boys team for the entire year and they deserved it. I'm not complaining, but I'd like to see that also extended to our other amazing athletes in South Kingstown because we have quite a few of them.
I'll take care of it.
Thank
I'd be
you.
happy to.
And I'll make sure that whoever the new superintendent that we pick and bring in follows suit. Thank
Okay.
you.
That concludes my report.
I'll make a motion to accept the superintendent's report.
But, did you have something to provide?
Just want to comment because we heard some community members refer to the equity audit and others, whether it be the superintendent search. So I'm just wondering if we have questions from the community or comments after listening tonight, additional suggestions, knowing that I think for the equity audit piece, there's a deadline by the 21st to give any amendments. I'm obviously looking as we go forward with the superintendent search for input. How might the community reach out? Is it to you directly, our acting interim superintendent, in terms of giving input or asking questions about either one of those? I think really important processes that are happening in the district.
I do want to point out that and thank Mr. Crowley, who put together the RFP, and we had received a number of communications from folks who expressed an interest in the equity audit. When are you going to do it? You guys have to get going, et cetera. This district needs it. Mr. Crowley reached out to anyone who had contacted us to invite their input before we finalized the RFP. He felt that was an important part of the process.
So on that topic, so I see that the request for proposal date was November 1st. Questions due by the 14th, which is today. So I'm assuming this is the RFP has already gone out.
Yes.
Right. And so with the questions due and then this amendments and responses to questions November 21st, which would be obviously next Tuesday. Those are for people who are applying, who are
Yes.
submitting their proposals. So we cannot adjust the RFP now because it's already out there. We cannot adjust it. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so I think because in order to honor, to your point, in order to honor their points, which were quite valid in their suggestions, I believe that what can happen is during the interview process, once the bids come in and it's selection time, whoever sits on that committee, or if it's just admin, to take into consideration these points that they're making as you're going through in the selection. So what they've added here is important, but I think it is definitely more like for an RF, and I only know this after navigating it with the building committee, to keep them like kind of general so that the people coming to the table are like, this is what I bring to the table. And then this information about curriculum and the suggestions from Jonathan and Ms. Manning could be, helpful in determining who is selected and maybe incorporating that somehow. But I just want to Melissa's point, their feedback was quite valid. But knowing that we want to keep the requests kind of general, so that people can come and pitch themselves to us, right?
Agreed. And this is a request for proposals. These aren't bids. So it's not like we have a list of specifications and we want to know how much will it cost for you to deliver on these specs. No, this is more open-ended. These are proposals. So we don't necessarily have to go with the lowest bidder on this. We can consider that kind of flexibility when we choose the entity. Okay.
So I have a question on the capital improvement plan. You have two items on here that are the Curtis Corner Middle School field. One is track resurfacing for 250,000 and the other field house and storage shed updates for 20,000. I'm just really curious about the timing of this when we are.
Interrupt, but it notes it in there that it's dependent on the bond passage. And
That was
so,
my question.
right,
That was
it said it right
okay.
in there, because if it passes, if the bond passes, obviously those can be pulled, but we want to make, we don't.
Okay. I think little asterisk next to those might have been helpful because maybe I wouldn't have missed it, but that was my question. Perfect. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just want to comment on both of these questions. I want to thank both speakers again for talking about the equity audit. I think there are a lot of different ways to audit yourself. One is against some external benchmark or industry standard. I do like including Mr. Sigmund's approach of auditing ourselves against our own policy and examining whether we are fulfilling the promise we've made through those policies and whether we're doing what we say we're going to do. So I think that's again, I'm not sure what the process is from here, but when we get these proposals back, I think it's worth looking at whether one, are we fulfilling against whatever the benchmark or standard might be in education, but also looking at what we have said within our own policies and whether we're doing that, which we should. And I appreciate the time they've put into this, and I don't know. Maybe I could ask what happens. I know the final approval will come to us, but will that be narrowed down to a single choice, or what's the process from here to evaluate those proposals?
I think we'll put together a team to review the proposals, and then we'll bring it to the committee, and then because it is an expenditure over $4,000, and we'll bring it to the committee for your approval.
Thank you. And then a question about the plan to the facility plan, that there's some work for Wakefield School next year planned. I'm just wondering what the status of that building is. Is it ours to maintain? Is it the town's?
Well, it's ours now. It's ours now, and then this was in the original plan when the closing of Wakefield School was not so definite, but obviously we're not going to invest a lot to improve the building.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? To have a motion on the table to approve the superintendent's report.
I made a motion to accept the superintendent's report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. I believe we have completed all of the school committee business.
We have one left,
Oh, there is.
and
one
it'll be a
item
really,
there.
it'll be a really quick one.
Like, let's get to the town hall.
That's gonna be the update, because my only update is currently the town council is voting as to whether or not to allow our community to vote on a $150 million bond for our facilities project. That is ongoing at the moment, and we won't know the results until that is over. And once we hear, what they decide, we do have a school building committee meeting slotted for Thursday. So in hopes that we get the approval from town council tonight to go to the $150 million bond number. And then we'll move forward from there on Thursday once that happens.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes at 8:36.
There, Chris is, Leffield just texted me saying, 10 minutes ago saying we're almost done, so